Hi everybody, it's Andy from Snow Camps Europe here. Just a quick video about skiing in the rain. So I've just been skiing in the rain for the last 2 hours on a lesson. I am absolutely soaking wet, or my uniform is soaking wet. I don't know if you can see the wetness, but the whole of the jacket has got very, very wet. My pants are very wet. However, I am still dry. Now this is because our uniforms do have Gore-Tex in them, have a Gore-Tex membrane. But what that means is, or what that doesn't mean is, it doesn't mean that the jacket doesn't get wet, especially if the jacket hasn't had any kind of proofing put on it in some time. So you can get chemical sprays to put on the jackets that we all know about. This hasn't had a treatment for a long time and has been washed several times. So when it does rain like it did today, then it does hold the water. But then what hasn't happened is that water doesn't penetrate the Gore-Tex that is underneath this red layer of fabric, okay? So a lot of people think this is the Gore-Tex, so this isn't the Gore-Tex. This is just a fabric that can get wet if it's not treated to repel water. So jacket's absolutely soaking, my trousers are soaking, but I'm actually dry inside other than just on my wrists. You may be able to see there, my wrists are a bit wet, and that's where the gloves have interfaced with the jacket. Now my gloves are actually quite wet because they're not a Gore-Tex glove and they're worn, they've got little holes in them. I live with that until I get a new pair, I'm not too bothered. But my gloves are wet, uniform soaking wet. I'm actually dry, which is good. However, what does happen when this gets so wet is it starts to get very cold and it becomes very heavy. So I was actually cold for the last 30 minutes of the lesson, even though outside it's quite warm. Now what I'm going to do with this now is, and this is what you should do, is I'm going to zip everything up, empty all the pockets, zip everything up, turn it inside out, and I'm going to go and tumble dry it. Because by tumble drying it, one, it's going to obviously get dry, but also the fibres in the high wear areas, so your elbows and on your shoulders, across the back of the shoulders, this is where you start to get leakage first, okay? So by tumble drying it, all of the fibres are going to stand up on end again. They're going to line up like little soldiers standing to attention, where at the minute they're all a little bit higgledy-piggledy like this. And this is what lets the water through. So get the fibres all lined up again. That's going to give you an element of waterproofness. The other thing I should really do is I should put a treatment on it so when it rains again, I've got that repellentness of the water. Okay, so everything out of the pockets, zip it all up, inside out, throw it in the tumble dryer. My ski boots, because the snow is very, very fine crystals, there's going to be a lot of water in my ski boots. So I'm going to take out my inners, I'm going to pour out the water, and then I'm going to leave the inners to dry separately than the shells, and I'm going to get the shells nice and dry as well. One of the most important things with your kit when it's been raining or wet snow is your goggles. You do not put your goggles on a heat source. Do not put them on top of a radiator. You want to hang them above the heat source so the heat travels up and goes through the goggles. This is going to dry out the foam. If you put them on the radiator, what happens is the glue that holds the foam to the PU frame is going to melt and your foam is going to come off the goggles. Okay, this is because the heat off the radiator is too hot for the glue that holds the foam on. So you leave your goggles above a heat source, let the hot air rise and go through them, and that will dry out the foam. If you don't dry out the foam in your goggles from today in the rain, tomorrow when you put them on, one, they're going to feel damp. Two, that dampness is going to heat up with the heat of your face. It's going to cause fog inside the goggle. You're probably then going to wipe the inside of the goggle, and you should never wipe the inside of your goggle because you're going to take off the anti-fog coating. Okay, so your goggles, very important. Also, if you've been out today and your helmet's got wet, hang your helmet up above a heat source. Don't put that onto the radiator because the heat, again, is going to play with that plastic, and over time that plastic will degrade from getting hot and cold and hot and cold, and it'll end up just breaking. Okay, so Andy for Snow Camps Europe with a very, very wet uniform that I'm going to go and put into the tumble dryer now. I'm going to take my inners out my boots, get everything re-dried for tomorrow morning, so I'm not going into wet boots. And yeah, I've got my goggles hanging above the radiator. Hot air is going to dry them out. Just a little bit of information there for you folks. If you've liked it, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's Andy from Snow Camps Europe saying, luckily, it's not going to rain tomorrow. Bye for now.